Sometimes fear comes from the unknown, or from what we think might be possible, as is the case with the Yeager II Class, a Section 31 starship design unknown to the general public until centuries after its decommissioning. But what do we know about this whisper of a starship class? Well, today we'll find out. Hello and welcome to another episode of Truth or Myth Beta Canon, a Star Trek web series that dives into the history of any given topic, using beta canon sources and my own imagination to fill in the gaps. In today's episode, we're finishing our spooktacular starship event for the month of October by taking a look at Section 31's Yeager II Class to better understand its place in Star Trek history. Please note, I have no idea where this model comes from, having been given a plethora of 3D models by you good trinaries, as well as collecting many more myself over the years. This one had no credit whatsoever given to it. But after my video on the Yeager class proper, as well as an extensive retexturing of the 3D model itself, I fell in love with it and thought you would too, and so I crafted a story around it that I hope you'll all enjoy. But of course, and as always, because this is just a bit of fan fiction, all information relayed should pretty much be taken with a grain of stardust, and only considered a little bit of Star Trek fun. And so, with all that out of the way, let's begin. Section 31 had been able to maintain a technology gap of almost a century over Starfleet Command for all of the 23rd century and into the early part of the 24th century. Section 31 acquired most of its technology from other species through less than admirable means, but by the mid-24th century, all advanced species in the Alpha and Beta quadrants that could provide Section 31 with much-needed technological upgrades had pretty much been found, leaving Section 31 with a period of decades where only minor advances had been made. Section 31 would continue to struggle in this area for the entire decade, on most missions only being able to stay slightly ahead of its targets, and then the Borg came. Section 31 had been completely caught off guard, as was the entire Alpha and Beta quadrants, when a lone Borg cube wrought destruction against the Federation. Sure, Section 31 had known of a mystical species from the Delta Quadrant that would attack and conquer planets, but believing them to be more legend than fact, had simply ignored the whole situation. Even when bases began disappearing on both sides of the neutral zone, Section 31 turned its focus on to the reappearing Romulan situation rather than the warning signs of what was to come. And when the omnipotent being known as Q had flung the USS Enterprise D to Sector J25, making the first official contact with the Borg, Section 31 was positive that Starfleet would be more than a match for this aggressive foe. But of course they weren't, losing 39 starships and over 11,000 lives at the Battle of Wolf 359. Section 31 now had a new issue to deal with. Starfleet Command was truly frightened. The ensuing technological development revolution would see Starfleet Command suddenly overtaking Section 31. New weaponry, warp cores, and even computer systems threatened the very existence of the organization. Through its contacts and operatives in Starfleet, Section 31 would have access to all this new technology. But of course, implementation of this technology into Section 31 would be a slower process, not having the resources that Starfleet did in those regards. But then, in 2378, the unthinkable happened. The USS Voyager, stranded in the Delta Quadrant for 7 years, suddenly returned home to Earth, with its hull, computer banks, and cargo bays filled with technology, the likes of which the Alpha and Beta quadrants had not seen before. But Voyager's return did prove one thing to Section 31, that the Delta Quadrant was ripe with technology for the organization to exploit. Of course, the problem was how to get there. Again, the USS Voyager would be the answer to Section 31's problem. Having dabbled in many faster-than-warp drive technologies, Section 31 would acquire all of Voyager's information on those said technologies, and quickly begin to develop their own quantum slipstream drive. Section 31 began to quickly scramble for its own starship class to test their untried technology. Sadly, most of Section 31's starship classes were incapable of handling the subspace forces that slipstream drive required. That is, except for one solitary starship design, the Yeager class. Having intercepted and acquired the USS Yeager on its way to the decommission yard, it had been Section 31's intention to utilize that starship in a mission against the Zenkethi Alliance. But then, the mission proved to be unnecessary thanks to Starfleet Command, and the USS Yeager had simply sat in a Section 31 shipyard, waiting for the day that it might be useful for the organization. In fact, the USS Yeager was almost perfect for slipstream drive tests, and so, in short order, Section 31 began to install the new propulsion system, while at the same time finishing the almost complete upgrades that it had already implemented into the Yeager design. And by late 2381, the Yeager II Class would be born. Sitting at a length of 427.6 meters, the Yeager II Class would be designed to be operated by 150 loyal Section 31 operatives. Including the latest advancements in bioneurocircuitry, the Yeager class would also utilize a dual-core system, with one core being a powerful standard warp core, while the other would be a quantum slipstream core, which itself would run all systems related to the quantum slipstream drive. As a result, the Yeager II class would have a standard safe cruising speed of warp factor 8, with an emergency maximum speed of warp factor 9.8 for 12-hour increments. Structural integrity field, as well as inertial dampening systems, would receive a complete upgrade as required by the new slipstream technology. Tactically, the Yeager II class would be equipped with the latest phaser emitter arrays, as well as torpedo launching systems capable of firing a variety of projectile weapons, including photon, quantum, and transphasic torpedoes. Like all Section 31 starship designs, a hollow emitter system placed throughout the Yeager II's hull would allow this starship design to appear as any starship or celestial object it cared to mimic, while signature changing technology would allow standard scans of the vessel to read as the object it appeared to be. Testing on the quantum slipstream drive would begin in late 2381, and surprising to all, would actually work quite well, with only a few minor adjustments that needed to be made. And by 2384, Section 31 would have 22 Yeager II class starships operating secretly in the Delta Quadrant, acquiring technology while preparing that quadrant for Starfleet's eventual return. And the Yeager II class's success for Section 31 would not end there, as when the Borg reclamation technology revolution occurred, Section 31 was able to refit the Yeager II class with that technology, once again keeping the organization ahead of the curve of all Alpha and Beta Quadrant species. A combination of luck and need would breathe life into a starship class that the galaxy had thought long gone, and although it would take centuries for the truth about the Yeager II class's existence and the role it played for the Federation, it was definitely a starship class that made its mark on the galactic stage, earning the Yeager II class its valiant, though secretive place in galactic history. Thank you for watching today's episode of Truth or Myth Beta Canon, the last episode in our spooktacular October event. What do you think of the Yeager II class, Section 31, and the historical narrative that I've created here? Do you want to see more videos like this one? Well, leave your comments in the section below, and don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel, hitting that little bell icon so you won't miss a single video we release. Want to help the channel breathe life into its all but forgotten starship designs? Then consider becoming a channel patron, a major help that allows this channel to purchase resources and 3D models to keep it going. The link to our Patreon account is in the description below. Thanks again for watching, live long and prosper, and happy Halloween.